Hi, Democrats. Today is Tuesday, March 21st, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Tuesday. And just as a reminder, there is an election coming up in April. So if you haven't done your research, do it now. There is an election coming up in April. Okay, so I get this question quite a bit when I'm out and about. If I get introduced with my title, I get this. As a matter of fact, I got the question last night. What do Oklahoma Democrats stand for? I like to just take a break every once in a while and remind you what we stand for. We stand for every man. We stand for those policies that help regular Oklahomans, whether they live in rural communities, urban communities, or suburban communities. Specifically, we stand for well-funded public education. We stand for access to affordable health care, no matter your zip code. And we stand for access to economic opportunity. We talk a lot about education and healthcare. We talk a lot because there are a lot of bills that get talked about in every cycle about education and healthcare. But today, I want to talk about economic opportunity. Specifically, the fact that one party talks a lot about it, but isn't doing anything about it. So I want to talk about ARPA funds. You hear that term thrown around on the news. You hear it when you talk to local politicians, but I want to make sure that we know what ARPA funds are. ARPA stands for American Rescue Plan Act. That was passed in 2021 as a direct result of COVID. And so it was federal funds that were sent to states to help them overcome the hardships caused by COVID through agriculture, education, healthcare, all these different sectors. It was money given to the states that we were supposed to use to help our citizens to help lessen the impact of COVID. Okay, that's what happened. And Oklahoma got $1.7 billion with the B dollars for ARPA funds. American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And these funds have a deadline that they have to be either committed or spent by. Well, our governor is always bragging about how we have this surplus. Well, let me tell you, we got $1.7 billion with the B dollars in ARPA funds, and we've only spent 2.5% of it. So there's a big chunk of where that $2.8 million in surplus funds that the governor brags about came from. Not because he's really good at raising money, raising revenue, getting businesses to come here and figuring out how to manage our state budget, but because a whole bunch of money was given to our state for real purposes, and we're not spending it on those purposes. And I want to talk about some very specific things that ARPA funds were supposed to be spent on. Purchasing and distributing food and agricultural needs for folks who are in need. To help businesses that provide fresh produce and meat. To help those businesses. We're not spending money there. We're not spending money there. And we have money that was given to us that we could be helping our farmers. We could be helping folks who are in need, or low income folks who are eating, who don't have access, because we have a lot of food deserts in Oklahoma, who don't have access to fresh produce or meats. But instead, we're hanging on to that money so we can brag about how we have money in our savings account. In education, there was money for enrollment for children who are experiencing homelessness. There's a whole lot of talk about folks who are experiencing homelessness in our state. But most of that talk is how we can penalize them, how we can hide them. I believe that the Republican women had a meeting last week at a country club talking about what we could do about folks who are experiencing homelessness. Meanwhile, our state was given money to help make sure that we educate children who are in families that are experiencing homelessness. You don't hear anybody talking about that because we're not trying to spend the money on folks who are in need. There was money to help healthcare workers through some of the mental health challenges that they've been experiencing as a result of the grueling hours of COVID and the shortages in staff. And there was money there to help them with mental health and help keep mental health care workers in our state. And that's not just state, but it's also for tribes. Now, what I know, because I attended a tribal event last night, that at least the Cherokee Nation took the money that they were given and they're opening healthcare clinics in all of their jurisdiction. So they're taking their money and they're actually doing something with it. I think we started a 388 line. That's a thing. That's really helpful. But we had a lot more money where we could have opened clinics, or we could have hired more folks into our state to help with that. We chose not to do that. We chose to go a different route. There was funding provided to help families who live in districts that have poor drinking water, who are spending a lot of money on bottled water to be safe. We actually got funding to help those people get clean drinking water. I haven't heard about it on the news. Maybe you guys have. Maybe there are a whole bunch of folks who live in not clean water districts who are getting money to help them buy bottled water. I don't think so. Rental assistance, money for rental assistance. We heard about that at the top of COVID, but let me remind you of the $1.7 billion that we've received. We've spent a total of 2.5%. So there are folks who are on the brink of homelessness that haven't quite recovered from COVID or from fall-on effects from COVID. So we have the funds that we could help them, but instead we choose to demonize them, talk about bootstraps and all this kind of stuff when we have an opportunity to give them boots, give them straps, and give them some assistance to help them overcome this crisis. And that's not how we're choosing to spend the money. So there are ways that we could deal with making sure that everybody has an opportunity to come up economically. We decide to put the money in the bank and just make everybody suffer. That's the plan that Oklahoma took. Then additionally, let's not talk about homelessness. Let's not talk about folks with bad drinking water. Let's not talk about education. Let's talk about utility rate increases. So right now, the system is whenever the gas company wants to raise our rates, they have to come before the Corporation Commission and make a case-ish, and they raise our rates. And I know this because it's broken, right? We know that this is how it works because it keeps happening. Our rates have been raised at least 3 times in the last year. Well, now, through the Senate Bill 1103, we're trying to pass a bill that says they don't have to ask, they can just raise our rates. Whew, this is not a place for economic opportunity for all. And a lot of that is driven by one party. I just want to mention that because I am a proud member of the party who is looking for ways to help folks who are experiencing homelessness, looking for ways to reduce the tax rate on the regular guy, looking for ways of, trying to raise minimum wage. They talk a lot about fiscal responsibility, but it's fiscal wealth for some. And the rest of the folks have to be out. It's like they're trying to drive a caste system. So when you ask, what do Democrats stand for? Economic opportunity for all is a thing that we stand for. And if you're trying to figure out why to get involved, this is why. Yes, we have money to fix the roads. We have money to fix the roads. Let me tell you where it is, Frida. It's in the bank so that the governor can brag about it. That's where it is. The governor is hoarding this money. Here's the thing. It has to be spent or committed by a certain date. Each program has its own date and all that kind of stuff. Has to be spent or committed by a certain date, or we have to send it back. So what happens when we get to the date and we have to send it all back? Does he stop bragging about all the money that, what a great financial position that Oklahoma is in? Oklahoma is not in a great financial state when our citizens can't pay rent, don't have clean drinking water, are stressed out because of the stresses of the healthcare in our state. We're not. And also, Frida, yeah, that's right. We're not when I have no idea how to budget for my electric and gas. No idea, because every couple of months they raise the rate. So it's not a matter of me being irresponsible with how many lights I have on. It's a matter of I can't figure it out because the rates keep going up. That's where we live, because our governor is more interested in bragging about his savings account than actually taking care of our citizens. This is why we need more balance in our leadership in our state. This is why a one-party rule doesn't work. This is why we need you to get involved in the party to help us elect more Democrats. We need more balance in our legislature. We need more balance in our elected state leaders. But it's going to take all of us to get involved. All of us to either run or help somebody who's running. All of us to help build the infrastructure so when someone's running, they don't fall through the cracks. So now's the time. Reach out to your county parties. Figure out how you can help. They are all of them looking for volunteers right now, including the state party. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be back here tomorrow at 4:15.